and heartache. Life experiences could have caused Brandi to give up, question God, or become bitter. She's not a therapist, and she doesn't claim to be an expert. However, the lessons learned on her journey of life may just help us walk our own road to standing grace and writing in hope. It is time to let out our superhero you within and leave a legacy to remember. Please welcome Brandi.
Come on, let's wake up a little, huh? Woo! Who's feeling good this morning? Are we ready? Do we need to get some energy going? I know we had such a fantastic circle over there. It was amazing. And man, there's power in this room. How excited are we? You know, if one person, if one speech, if one legacy can change the world, think about everybody in this room and how much power there is in here. And how much energy and excitement we have. And that we get to plug into every single day. You know, in my life, like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. But I've been through many trials. And there are things in my life that I love. Oh, I'm supposed to stay over here because I guess the camera's over here. Sorry, live streamers. Hi. So I'm a walker. I'm a preacher's daughter. So it's one of those things where I can speak for a long time or I can speak for a short time, and I pace. And so I have to remind myself, hey, stand right here. Stand right here. So there are times when you kind of come in, and I had slides, that's not working this morning, so we're going to go with it. However, there are some times in life where you feel kind of like, ugh. You know, I did a quiz, one of those on Facebook. That's like, what kind of animal are you or whatever? And the slide I had is this projection of this lioness, but she's like laying on a tree branch, and she's like this. My sister did hers, and she's the lion coming off the cliff. It's great. But then there's another time where you feel so excited. You have that childlike faith in you, and you're so excited just to like jump in and do things, and you're motivated. Well, today, what I want to do is I'm going to share a story with you. And I'm not going to ask how many of you are open-minded, because I'm pretty sure all of you would raise your hand, especially in this crowd. And that is fantastic, because today I'm going to share a story that might sound like a Hollywood movie. It might sound like, are you sure that's real? But it is. It's my life. It's my story. I lived it, and it's true. So as a young girl, at the age of 5, I fell in love with horses. I fell in love with the smell of their neck. I fell in love with scooping horse pins. I fell in love with them running up and down the pasture and around. At the age of 9, I fell in love with the sport of rodeo. I fell in love with the care that it took, the determination. At the age of 13, I was a world champion in the rodeo arena. At the age of 16, I was headed to my 3rd national champion competition, which is kind of unheard of in the sport of rodeo. And for those of you who don't know what rodeo is, or sports, or barrel racing, or goat tying, or breakaway roping, Google is a wonderful thing. I would show you a video. So one of the things that I loved about it is the adrenaline. The adrenaline that you get stepping off a horse going 35 miles per hour, or the long drives, having sing-alongs with my family. The memories that you get to make, and the pushing yourself to the limit. When I was a junior in high school, I was set to be the #1 in the rodeo arena, and I was also scholarshiped on a full-ride rodeo scholarship to the #1 college in the United States for my type of sport. And it was NCAA. Of course, it was in Oklahoma, right? Because we don't have it here, but Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Kansas, All of those are really like the top when you go into the rodeo sport. And I was full rodeo scholarship, and I had just swept the state competition. It was the best time I had ever had. I was at the top of my competition, and nobody was standing in my way. We just finished all the awards at the award ceremony, and here we go. It's so excited. And my dad goes, hey, come with me. I was like, all right, Dad. My dad was a pro calf roper. My mom was a pro barrel racer. So they really knew the sport. And as those of you who've visited the rodeo at Cheyenne Frontier Days or the Greeley Stampede lately, you would have seen some of what I did. And so my dad pulls me out. Everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving the fairgrounds. And it's quiet. It's a little dark, the sun setting. And he takes me into the middle of the arena. It was the Greeley Stampede arena. And he makes me stand there and look around. And I'm going, shouldn't we be celebrating? I just had a fantastic state final. I am like it. I am the star, right? And he goes, I want you to look around. Where is everybody? They left. Yeah, they have. What do you hear? I hear a horse running. I hear the pigeons up in the stands. I see that piece of trash blowing across the arena. He goes, huh? Yeah. So where is everybody? Well, I guess they're on the road. He goes, that's exactly right. From this moment on, you need to remember, and you need to hold it to you, that your accomplishments in this arena, they're fantastic. I love you. They're great. And I want to celebrate that with you. However, in 2 to 5 years, nobody is going to remember your name. They are going down the road, figuring out how to beat you, figuring out how to increase their skills, figuring out who the next big thing is and what they need to work on. And he goes, but you know what matters most? He's like, I saw you pray for that young woman who was in the alleyway, who was so nervous that she was shaking, and she was trying to get her goat string, which is something that you have goat legs with, okay? But she's trying to get her goat string, and she couldn't get it, so you calmed her down, you went over, you prayed over her, you rosin the string for her, which that's another rodeoism, and you just got her prepared for her first out at a state finals. How about that young boy who was crying because he couldn't get his horse fed because he couldn't find anything? You're like, it's all right, let's go get the hay, I'll help you haul it, it'll be good. Those moments are what you're going to be remembered for. And believe me, 20 plus years out of that situation, nobody knows my name. My sister and I, we were the top of our competition at that time. There was one story at national finals where it was my sister's senior year, it was my freshman year, I made it as a freshman, and the list was going down, and people were standing there, my dad's standing in the back, everybody's looking for their name on the list, and they said, well, Brooke's back, that's my sister. It's like, whoa, Brooke's back. Oh, Brandi Webster was my maiden name. So Brandi Webster, oh man, she has a sister. That's how well known my family was in the rodeo arena. I was the president of the High School Rodeo Association, the Colorado High School Rodeo Association. You have no idea. It was like living like that top pick for the football team. I don't know what else to relate it to, but it was phenomenal and it was wonderful and I felt like that. And then Dad grounded me. My father grounded me. And he reminded me that no matter what championship you win, no matter what listing you win, no matter if you are the top of your industry, what you do with your gifts and how you lift everybody up and how you make differences in people's lives, that's what matters. And we're going to talk about how to ignite that superhero in you, because your superhero is your gifting. Only if you use it to lift others up. And it is very, very, very important that I tell myself that every morning. Because I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, because we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, because no one will love you as you are. 17, November 17th, 98, and my life turned upside down. I headed into my senior year, and I lost 28 pounds in 2 weeks. The doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm supposed to be the number one in the state. What is happening to my body? I ran 2 miles every day. I lifted weights 3 times a week. I was powerful. I don't know what was going on in my body, but I couldn't actually get out of bed some days. I couldn't finish volleyball tryouts. I could barely crawl on my horse. And my pediatrician at the time says, hey, let's give you some steroids, prednisone, if anybody's ever been on prednisone. But he said, hey, let's do this. Let's give you prednisone. There's swelling in your throat. We need to see if there's an infection behind that. What they did not know is that I had a tumor about the size of my hand, and it filled my chest from front to back. And the prednisone was the type of treatment for this type of tumor. The issue is you have to have a counter drug for the side effects. So they gave me the prednisone, it attacked the tumor, it crystallized and shut down my kidneys, and I went into the hospital in complete renal failure at 47% acidity with 48 hours to live. That was my diagnosis. I remember going into the hospital because I would not leave. That was the year that the Broncos were headed to the Super Bowl. Whoop, whoop. First time, come on, 98, let's do it. So we're going, and I would not leave the house until the game was over. My mom was so frustrated because I'm throwing up water. I've lost all this weight. I looked like a pin. So if you can imagine me 30 pounds lighter than now, and then 28 pounds lighter, that I looked like an anorexic little thing when I'm supposed to be the top of the state and in the best shape of my life, living my beautiful life. And I find myself in an emergency room at Poudre Valley Hospital in Fort Collins going, what is happening? And all I remember is kind of waking up and then them putting me on a cart and sending me down the hall. And I remember being really cold, and I was really cold. And then a nurse put me and wrapped me in a warm blanket. I felt here's where my superhero started to step in my life. And so they take me in for an x-ray, trying to figure out what was going on, and that's when they had scanned and found the tumor. The next thing I remember is kind of waking up and looking, and my parents are standing in the emergency room, and they're putting up the x-ray, and my mom just shakes her head and sits down. And I'm out. I'm completely out. For the next 2 days, I will say, I was laying in that hospital bed. I wasn't asking for prayer. I wasn't asking for repentance. I wasn't saying, oh, please bring something to me. I was literally dying. However, there were people in our lives that rallied, that prayed. There was an international ministry, and it was really, really amazing. There's an international ministry called my dad, and he said, hey, Bill, that's my dad. He said, what's going on with Brandi? We're headed over to Asia, and we have no idea what's going on. And he said, well, the diagnosis is good. I've given her about 48 hours. If she comes out of it, she's supposed to be in the hospital 6 to 10 weeks to rehab. If she comes out of it, but her kidneys are gone, everything's starting to shut down. So I'm at this high, right? And all of a sudden, my life, I found myself in this hospital bed. However, there was prayer warriors that surrounded me. He said, this international minister said, you let Brandi know when she wakes up, not if she wakes up, when she wakes up, that prayers for her have gone around the world. There were bikers from Christ coming in from Wyoming, right? It was kind of cool. So there's all these, and this little, I'm going to say it on camera, this little white country girl, right? And they're bikers from Christ. I mean, big, heavy, all leathered out, came down and into my room because they heard that there was a little girl fighting for her life at Poudre Valley Hospital, and they knew they needed to do something about it. These are people I don't know, and they came marching down, and they just consumed that room and prayed over me, anointed me with oil, and then left. At that time, nobody was really allowed in my room. And so my mom, being my mom, she's a phenomenal prophetic prayer warrior. And I just tell you, my mom is powerful. Woo, love her. And so she was on her knees. She was reading the Bible. They were praying. They were doing healing scriptures and worship music in my room. And it was just, of course, I slept through all of this, right? And my best friend comes to them one morning and says, my mom had a dream about Brandi, and I'm supposed to tell you the first part. And if it rings true, then I'll tell you the second part. So my parents sit down, they're like, okay, let us hear it. And she goes, well, my mom had a dream, and she started describing my room, my hospital room, perfectly. And you have to know that nobody was allowed in at this time. This is a critical moment in my life. But there was one person that my parents allowed in my room, and she was woken up, and God told her, go pray and go intercede for Brandi. And so she came marching into the hospital. She looked at my parents and said, I'm supposed to pray. She went into the hospital, sat down and started praying. This was about 10 o'clock at night. And so as my friend starts describing my room, she says, well, there's someone in the corner of the room, looks like they're praying. There's a stained glass painting over in this window. Her legs look like they're moving up and down. She's like, that's weird. My parents laughed, because if you've ever had surgery or been around anybody who's had surgery and they're laying flat on their back, they have to put these pumps. I hate the pumps. I just say, hate is a very strong word. I hate the pumps. But they put pumps on your legs so that the blood flow can continue through your body. So she said her legs, it fills with air and then depressed and then fills with air. So here's my leg. She described it perfectly. She said, however, on to the second part. So yes. That's what it looks like. On to the second part. She said, the most amazing thing is there's 3 angels. There's 3 angels in the room, and she said there's 2 at the sides of the bed. Huge one at the end. You can't even see above his chest. Like, it's just, he's huge. And at a certain point in time, the 2 on the sides rose up, started spinning and shooting out lights. Told you, this is going to sound like a weird Hollywood movie, right? And so they start spinning, and then all of a sudden I separated, if you will, from my body, and I did the same thing. I rose up in my spirit realm, and I started spinning and shooting out lights. And then at a certain point in time, the one at the end spread his huge weight, you couldn't see it, and encompassed the entire room. The next 24 hours that I was not supposed to live, my kidneys started stabilizing. My blood counts normalized. You know why? Because we have a superhero God in our lives that loves to show off. He loves to show off. He loves to take these death situations, bring them to life, and say, I told you I'm the God of love, and I told you I will surround you with superheroes who are willing to step into those dark moments and are willing to lift you up and are willing to bring you to your next beautiful you are supposed to be. Now, I wish I could say, that was it, we're great, woo! Well, there's 2 other times that I almost died in the hospital during my 17-18 year. The next one, I caught pneumonia with an AIDS patient's blood level, white count, blood level, which was great because the lymphoma, which was acute lymphoblastic lymphoma, was actually a cancer of the white T cell. And if anybody knows about the white T cell, it is what combats disease. So not only do I have cancer of this T cell, but I only have 0.1, which is an AIDS patient's level, and I catch pneumonia. Woohoo for me! It's great. And I remember sitting in that hospital room and just bawling and crying. I felt alone. Nobody again could come into the room. Nobody could touch me. This was like COVID, pre-COVID, the masks, the gloves, it's that girl in the bubble. My mom would come in and quiz me from outside so I could continue my schoolwork and make sure she's turning in stuff for me. And I was sitting there and I'm looking at myself and I'm just like, I am skinnier than skinny. I have bruises all over my body. I look like my hair is falling out. I can barely sing, which is something I love. Those of you who didn't notice earlier. I could barely sing. All I knew is I was losing everything. And I didn't have anybody who could come into that room. I was alone. And then I heard a still small voice rising up within me that says, I never, ever And I knew that my God was meeting me in that darkness, was meeting me in moments. It says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It's a shadow. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. They move me through those dark moments because we know in these moments, we don't fight for victory, we fight from victory. In your life, you don't fight for victory, you fight from victory because we know the end of the story, we win. We win in our lives when we know who our source is. And whatever that source is for you, when you stand in that source and you hear those quiet, still, uplifting times in your life, and all I felt in that moment was a warm blanket wrap around me. And I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I had a comfort in my mind. I knew I was going to be okay. I started a road of forgiveness over myself, maybe for the pride that I carried. You know, I was this, I was this, I was the top. Woo, I didn't, sorry, Emma, if you saw that, I know I didn't do that right. My 9-year-old daughter corrects me. However, within that, you come to these moments in your life where it's like, wow. There was a time when I couldn't even get out of bed. We don't even know what it was. The doctors don't know what it was, but my brain started swelling. And I couldn't remember who I was, where I was. My dad would say, the lights were not on and nobody was home. My eyes turned almost black and they couldn't get me to respond. They were feeding me. It was one of those moments where my parents now were at a loss. I was gone. My mind was somewhere else. They couldn't figure out if it was from the chemo or if I'd gotten some type of bacteria or something had happened during that time. The doctors were at a loss. And my mom and dad would switch nights staying with me over this period of 10 days. And so dad would stay, mom would stay, dad would stay, mom would stay. And there was one night where my dad walked out, it's his time to stay. And he said, man, Boke, which was one of my nurses, he goes, the doctors aren't talking to us. What is happening with my 17-year-old child? This is the third time she's in here, the third time they're telling us, we don't know what's going on. We don't know if she's going to make it. Her brain is swelling. And Boke says, well, Bill, your daughter is here. She's actually right here. We have one more treatment that we can give her, but it's a last resort because there's no counter drugs to bring her back. If she has any reactions to it, and she has any type of failing in her organs or her heart, she's gone. And so my dad, of course, went in and just sat and started to pray. My mom was headed home, and she was driving. And my mom, when you talk to my mom, she's very black and white. And I love her for that because I am not, and she grounds me. I'm going to skip and kind of go to a different story. There was one medication I was being given, and I had to carry it in a pack that it went into my system throughout the day, and it would deplete the little ball. And we needed a system to carry it. So, and this is when fanny packs were not in style. Again, okay? Like, she had one because it was in style for her, and it was purple. This fanny pack she gave me was purple. Oh my gosh, for some reason, my mind went ballistic. And I was like, it's purple! I can't believe you're giving me a purple fanny pack. If I have to carry anything, it's purple. And I got angry at her. And I just blew up. And then I started crying because I realized that I blew up my mom for absolutely no reason. And I went into the room and I slammed the door and I just started bawling. Then I came out and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. She's like, sit down. And I said, she goes, you are a 17-year-old dealing with an 80-year-old's problem, acting like a 12-year-old, grow up. Because you and I need to be a team in this. No, she was loving in it. When my mom says that, I say it a little more harsh than my mom does, but she was very loving in it because she's grounding me, right? My emotions are all over from all these chemicals and I can't figure my own self out. And she goes, sit, be in peace for a minute. And realize that yes, this is a daunting situation, but you need to get quiet for a second. Because we're a team and we're going to get through this, but I can't get through this if you're all out there somewhere. So that's my mom, right? So coming back into that situation that I was in where my brain was swelling, and she's driving home, and I only say that because of this story. She's driving home and she hears an audible voice. She doesn't hear audible voices a lot. It's not like she hears voices, but it says, "Today, Linda, your daughter makes a choice." She pulls over to the side of the road. I can't do this justice as much as she could, but this is the stories that that she tells. She pulls over to the side of the road and she just starts shaking. She's like, no, 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 no. Now, my mom is always in the Bible. She's always in the scriptures. She's always bringing the life out of that. She's always praying. She's like, this is not happening. I'm going back to the hospital. I am not letting my daughter go. The next thing she hears is, "She is mine." From my mama's heart, I have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. I don't know how she done that. But she let me go. And she went home and she fell on her knees and she started crying. And she just said, "God, I'm giving her to you. I don't know what else to do. I just have to give her to you. This is all I have. This is all, it's my baby girl." I'm the youngest of 3. And I mean, this is all, she's like, she's my upbeat, flamboyant, run across the street before looking both ways. Yes, I'll go to the highest tops and jump off and skydive down. That's who my daughter is. And now she's laying in this bed and you're saying, she's mine. So she prayed herself to sleep. She said that night she slept the most peaceful, deep sleep that she has ever slept. She woke up so refreshed in the morning. She heard, and it's in Psalms 118, says, well, she heard it a different way, but it says, "Your daughter will live and not die and testify of my love." My love. Now, that's agape love. That is an unconditional love. There's 7 different types of love when you're studying it from the Greek to the Hebrew to the Aramaic. However, this was the agape love in the scripture that's talking about. That unconditional that we cannot reproduce. Daughter will live and not die and testify of my love in the courts of men. The scripture actually says, "Those who love me will live and not die and testify of me." That's how the scripture is said. Because she runs out, she gets her Bible, she goes, there's everything with her scriptures, and she literally picks up and reads it, and the phone rings. And it's my dad on the other line. He goes, "Linda, your daughter just rolled over and said, 'Good morning, Daddy.'" Do I remember this? It's their experiences, and it's them speaking life into me. When they speak over me, did you know that words create? Words have a sound. It actually says in the Bible that there's life and death in the tongue. And when you speak out, you create a vibration. Most of you know this. There are some of you in the room that are very familiar with this. When you speak something out, you create a vibration. Think about different areas of the country, right? I mean, if you think of the sound of Africa, here, the drums, I should probably look that up and put that in my speech. So there's that. You think of, if you were in Scotland, right now my sister's actually at Edinburgh, the tattoo where they bring all the military together, like the military units, and they play their bagpipes and their drums, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I wish I was there. I'm a little jealous. So here's the thing though, there is a sound that is created, there's a vibration that comes through. So when you're talking to someone positive, when you're praying over someone, I know you guys might have different language for this. This is just my story, my language for it. But when you do that, you are creating something in that person. You are creating a healing. When you place sound or different hurts underneath like a plate with sand on it, it literally will make different pictures and different, it's beautiful. It's really fun. Google it. It's fun. It's to watch. And so we know that sound creates. And so as they're sitting in these moments, and I don't know what's going on, but there are people rallying, and there is sound happening, and all of a sudden, these miracles start happening in my life. And I remember waking up and one day and looking at the doctor and saying, I don't remember, this is right after, I'm kind of coming out of this. I was like, what did you just say? I started having to reteach myself how to memorize and how to walk. My brain had swollen so much that I could only remember book. He gave me flashcards that said table, chair, and book. And I could only remember book. And I had flashcards. I was top of my class, taking AP courses, top of my, and now I'm retraining myself how to memorize table, chair, and book. What? And by the way, once I finished that, 2 weeks later, I was running barrels at the National High School Finals in Gillette, Wyoming. Because who I was and what was spoken into my life and who my superhero and my superpower source was, which is my Jesus in my life. It might be something different in yours, but in my life, that is who it is. He and the speaking and the reading and the sounds that were created around me, we're all encouraging. We're all positive. My parents wouldn't tell someone if they came in and they're like, oh, well, my parents would be like, out. You will not stand in this hospital room, and you will not diminish our hope. Hope is the future expectancy of good fortune. You look up the definition. It is the future expectancy of good fortune. And all of us in this room create a sound. All of us in this room have a superpower within us that you can speak out and you can speak the opposite to the situations that you are facing. What do we love about superheroes? Anybody? Anybody want to give me maybe you don't. They conquer it, right? They have an origin story, right? And it's usually something really dark. Really, Batman loses his parents. So does Superman. Wonder Woman has to leave her childhood home. Spider-Man has all this regret over his uncle. And just to tell you why I'm a little obsessed with superheroes is I worked for Elitch's when it was Six Flags. And my husband was there during the summers playing the Green Lantern. And so I made myself a superhero. However, there's a longer story in that. Man, you look good in parasite. So within that, he played the Green Lantern. And I would tell you that entire story. Ask me over because I tell it with all the characters involved on how we met. And I was dating Batman and told him to take a long walk off short pier because he was dating Wonder Woman at the same time he was trying to date me. And I walked out front at this birthday party and met my husband, who was the Green Lantern, and Tweety and Sylvester were on the front porch. I'll give you all the details. Anyway, so we started becoming this superhero, like, what? What causes these superheroes? Because I know that superheroes have certain characteristics. They always have an origin story. Every single one of you in here has an origin story. You are where you're at because of your story, and you have overcome. It might not be as drastic as mine, but it's still so powerful when you share it with people and you uplift them and you move them to the next level of their life. So they also have a time where they're trying to figure out that superpower, right? What is it? What am I doing here? And they fumble through it. I mean, Spider-Man is one of my favorites because he's just a character, right? And he can never figure anything out, and he's shooting webs all over the place, and then he falls off this. And, the other thing is they always have something to sacrifice. They always have to sacrifice themselves, right? So within sacrificing themselves, look, I didn't even look at my notes. Within that sacrificing of themselves, they acquire something greater. They become something for everyone else that is needed. And do they still struggle? Yes. But what do they have? They have people speaking over their lives. So I want to read a verse to you today, and I want to speak it over your life, your business, because this is how my husband and I run our business. We speak our biblical truths into it. I love studying the Bible. I study it from who, where, when, why, what it was done, who was saying it, why they were saying it, who they were speaking to, and I love studying it in the Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic because you have to think, this is first century Jewish, not 21st century USA. So when you're talking and you're reading the scriptures, when Paul says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, that's a scripture that everybody uses. But they don't realize that Paul is actually in captivity, and in captivity at that time in Rome, it was the sewer systems of the city. And those sewer systems were guarded. Not only that, but Nero who was the emperor who was known for burning Rome and burning Christians at the stake to light up Rome, was Caesar. Nero was in charge, and he's in prison, the number one spokesperson for the Christian era, right? He's up to sewage in his knees or his waist at any given time, and guess what? He's most likely going to be killed. And he writes, whether I have everything or I have nothing, whether I abase or I abound, what most people forget, whether I abase or I abound, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I am content. You know how he's content? Because he knows he is grounded to his superpower, his source, and he has this mindset of no matter what, I am going to go change the world. I'm going to go uplift people. I am going to go make this place better when all that was surround us was death. When people were getting thrown into the ring just for the heck of it to satisfy, even Nero through his own advisors, his own, it was just chaos during that time. And there is a peace that surpasses all understanding that can come over you when you ground into your source and you start speaking out positive over your negative. When you have a negative thought, it is scientifically impossible to have a negative and a positive thought in your mind at the same time. And no matter what you do, always speak. Like this morning, I caught myself. I talked to you a few about it. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I need, right? Ooh, no, I am awake. I have got this. I know we started talking about that. No, I'm good. The projector's failing. I can't have it up. No, I'm good. I'm good. Because my calling today for you guys is to let you know you are good. No matter what's happening in your business, speak the opposite because you're going to create an amazing, amazing, amazing future for yourself, for those who come after you, for the people in your lives. So, Philippians 4:6-9. Don't be pulled in different directions or worried about a thing. Be saturated in prayer through each day, offering your faith-filled requests before God with overflowing gratitude. Gratitude's a huge thing right now, right? There's a reason. Because you can't have a negative and a positive. So if you're grateful for something, it will change that situation. It says, till every detail and wonderful peace that transcends human understanding will make the answers known to you through Jesus Christ. Now that's just, so keep your thoughts continually fixed on all that is authentic and real, honorable and admirable, beautiful and respectful, pure and holy, merciful and kind. And fasten your thoughts on every glorious work of God, praising him always for the example of that we have imparted to you. And God, the God of peace, will be with you in all things. That's what my husband and I, that's an example of what we pray to our business. We just say, God, let us focus on everything that is good, honorable, peaceful. Because when you get to this, you need to choose power instead of fear. Be willing to stand when no one else does. Don't fit into the norm. Who wants to fit into the norm? Anybody here? I see no hands. Just let you guys know. There's no hands. Great. Okay. Right? Risk more than others think is safe. Dream more than others think is practical. And expect more than others think is possible. And remember, we don't fight for victory. We fight from victory. Because when the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood, going to drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Thank you, Brandi. How about another big hand for Brandi? We have a few announcements. Let's go ahead and anybody that's new, first visitors, Joseph, Sarah, anybody else that we have with us for the first time. All right. Yeah, come on over. And we didn't get to meet you in the circle, so we'll let you. tell us a little bit about your business.
Hi, my name is Sarah Antonucci. I do structural integration bodywork, which is joint and bone focused work. It's really about figuring out where our pains are coming from, usually patterns that we're creating in our lives, and then working ourselves out of those patterns so that those pains don't happen anymore. I feel really thankful to have work that feels so fulfilling and so helpful for other people. In today's society, we are such natural beings living in such an unnatural world, sitting in these chairs and at our computers and driving our cars. And so sometimes it's nice to remind ourselves how good we can feel. I have an office off of I-25 in Colorado. I'm taking clients all the time. So I would love to connect. Would love to meet you all.
Joseph, do you want to come?
Are you coming to the car show, right? Yes,
Yeah.
you said it. Oh, I can't wait to see your cars.
Yeah, go ahead and give us a little bit more about it.
Well, I bought a car in 204 from Rick Bach Cadillac. It's called North Star. It's the very last car they made in the USA. Cadillac likes to be high on everything that they do. They sponsor my car in a lot of car shows, and a lot of Cadillacs do it too. There's a lot of them made. There's only 2 of them left in Colorado. And they also made some aftermarket of the same car. This year they're coming out with the same deal again. It's called the Black Driver. And it's a very expensive car. It does everything but talks to you. Well, it talks to you too. So it's kind of interesting. I got into this field about the Cadillac situation. I was always into the car field. And it's such a nice car, I started a limousine. And it's been kind of working with the pilots at the airport. They get tired of taking those Uber drivers back and forth. And it's kind of neat. They sit in a comfortable car. And it's kind of like classy. So the pilots kind of like that. They make good money. So that's my business. I'm trying to start that. And then I'm into the wild horse. Working with a lot of horses down in Taos. It's up for adoption. As soon as I get my limo going, I'm going to buy some land and bring them up here. And we're going to have a big adoption party for them. They roam pretty good down there. And my dad was into it in South Dakota. He leased a lot of his land out to the Mustangs up there, and he's still underneath the government. And he's passed away, and my sister took over, but Mustangs are growing quite a bit, so you got to kind of sort them out a little bit. So, well, the next thing I'm going to do is look for some land and start getting these horses up here, and we're going to have an adoption agency. They're nice looking horses, they really are. Grew up with horses. I was on a ranch for all my life, and I hope it works out real well for those horses down there.
Thanks for being here today. Okay, so just so you all know, we did go live with the new website. So it's businesshonoringspirituality.org. Our events are on there. Basically kind of what's happening. We haven't got the membership directory done yet. We are actively working on that. And again, just feel tremendously honored to be part of this amount of work that was donated to this group by our web designer. It's just an awesome time and effort, web committee, web designer, to get a nice functional website where we have a directory where we can refer people to. So
It's so mobile friendly and beautiful and modern. She did such a fabulous job. This is phase 1.
Phase 1.
Yeah, and all of our meetings you'll find there too, of course, our Facebook page, Facebook group, Meetup, they're on there as well, but this is really nice, mobile-friendly version. And Melissa's done such a fabulous job. We have an incredible lineup of speakers. I think Dr. Michelle's coming in.
Yeah, I was gonna.
So excited, great job. So check that out. They're all on our new website. You can check it out now. We're so excited about it. We've worked really hard to get this up and going and to put out something that we're super proud of and that you guys can share with people in your circles. And we really want to help grow this group. And I think this is a great way to do so. But kudos to Melissa. You were holding down the fort and getting some fabulous speakers like Brandi. This has been great.
actually, I'm going to talk about the speakers real quick. Next meeting, we have LZS Sekou. He is a minister here in our movement, and he'll be talking about how to integrate spirituality in businesses. And then after that is Melanie Gruenwald. She's from the Kabbalah Center. She'll be also teaching us about spirituality and business. And the 21st of September, we have Dr. Michelle Madrano from Mile High Church. She's going to teach us non-woo-woo techniques to bring spirituality into our business. And then, of course, we have the car show on the 26th. It is progressing. We have a taco truck for our food truck, and we have 5 tables already booked and 4 cars. Yay! So let's I'll have a table over there if you want to register your business, and I'm hoping to really get this booked. So, but we want to keep it for our. I want to make sure that our group can get these spaces first before we reach out to them. Yes, that would be amazing. Thank you. And then I've had some feedback that there's some people who don't have the internet access, so we can't take cash and or checks and just make it out to BHS. Is it BHS or Business Honoring Spirituality? Okay.
So I've got a table, and I'm really excited. This is a really great opportunity for Lakewood business owners and beyond to really showcase our business. I'd love to see kitchen masters and 18 principals, everybody have a table. And I know we're going to have a little giveaway at ours and staff for people to grab, and an opportunity, obviously, if people want to home it, like things like that. But it really is an opportunity. There's so much traffic. The farmers market going on at the same time. So really, I mean, I'm going to reach out to Leah Renee and Leslie. Let's see all of our VHS businesses there. If you've got a pop-up tent, you can bring that. A table, I mean, you can keep it as simple as you want, but this is really such a great opportunity for everybody to showcase their business. Just take a business card. Share a table. Okay.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Well, and part of my concern as a business owner is I may not want to have a table because I'm thinking about having a car or a motorbike.
Yeah.
Are you good with motorcycles there too?
Yes, yes. Well, I'm bringing a car and I'm having a table, so you can do that too. All right, I think that I'm complete.
Thank you so much for all your hard work on this.
Does anybody have a shout out? Anybody doing business with each other or connections, coffee connections?
Thank you, Jeremy. I have 3 shout outs. The first is to Melissa Bird and her beautiful mom who came to see me at
I got this outfit.
They spent their time, their energy, and their money supporting me and Chico's. Second shout out is to Melissa Chafin. She left already, but she did sign up as a new member today. So if you see her, be sure to congratulate her on that. And the third shout out is to an individual who I think is so underappreciated in this organization. That's our amazing president. He shows up at every meeting, at every event, with love and intentionality. Doesn't matter at the picnic, he got rained on. He got soaked, drenched. He stayed over that pit and made us some of the best, most lovely hamburgers and brats and burgers in the world. So I just want to make sure that we give a lot of love to our president.
This is a little indirect, but PG, who's not here today, I have some clients that really need some physical help moving, and he connected me with a cleaning company that really came in and helped my people pack. and do some of the physical labor, and they had such a great experience. So it's great that we use the people in this group to find quality people. Of course, you have texted me somebody, so this is the power of the connection here. I've said this before too, on Nextdoor, it's a great opportunity for us to share people in this group. You see a neighbor asking for a mortgage company or park cleaner, give shout outs to our local people we know, love, trust here. That's a great way to